Thanks for joining Sales with Suli, a mom of three who spent the last 12 summers knocking doors. Welcome to my podcast, where I talk about all things women, the ups and downs of my journey, and what it takes to find success on and off the doors. Enjoy this episode. Welcome back, friends, to this week's episode. It kind of looks a little funny and weird, but there's definitely going to be some gold. I have been trying to get this woman on this show for a while. So any way, shape, or form that we're able to kind of connect and put some of her advice and tips out there, we're definitely going to make it work. But I am super grateful again, just for the social media space. And it's where I was able to connect with Amy Spencer and kind of just follow her journey and see what it is that she's kind of accomplished in this space and how exciting that it is. I'm just super grateful that you're making the time in your busy schedule to come and give some feedback to women in this space. But Amy, tell us a little bit about you and tell us how you got into this space, how long ago, and all the good deeds about you.
You bet. Well, first, thank you so much for the intro. You guys are phenomenal. And honestly, I've been trying to get on with a podcast with you guys for a minute. I love what you guys stand for. You guys are super sharp, and female empowerment is huge, especially in this industry. So I am honored to be on this podcast with you guys.
Thank you so
much,
Amy.
Where do I start?
You start from when you first got here. So I want you to tell me like the background about like how long ago you got into door-to-door and how, first of all. So just your background in the door-to-door space, like how you got in here and how long ago.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So this topic is fun for me. I actually started about 6 years ago. I was living in Provo, Utah, trying to do the normal cycle thing, and long story short, I came across my friends who were going out to sell pest control in Ohio, and I was like, I have nothing to lose. There's nothing holding me back. I might as well try it. I was in a bind, actually. I came from a small town. I came from Orem, Utah, if you know where that is.
Yes. I've got a place there.
You know where Orem is? Good.
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, I came from a family of 6, super competitive family, and we played sports actively. So I was already like in the sales mix. My dad was he's an entrepreneur, and he was in sales too. So I had that background, but I never really put it to the test. And then they're like, hey, we're going out to Ohio to sell. And I'm like, okay, I've got nothing to lose, right? So I wanted to go to fashion school. I think I've told this story before, but I wanted to go to fashion school. I've never heard it. Oh, you haven't heard it? Okay. No. So I wanted to go to fashion school, FIT, New York. Okay. I looked it up. It was like over $40,000. And I'm like, this broke young 22-year-old. And I'm like, what am I going to do to get my way into fashion school? Pest control comes about. Everyone does door-to-door in Utah. You know how it goes.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, let's go all in. I'll just try it out. They're talking me into it. They're going to pay for my housing. I might as well, see what happens. Yeah, give it a shot. So I get out there. I actually came out late. I came out in June.
And you were 22 at the time?
Telling my boss. Yeah, I was 22, completely broke, you guys. And so broke that I remember my friend actually offering to pay my rent. That was like $200.
Really?
To put it into perspective.
I love this.
Yeah, completely broke. I told you I'd be vulnerable, so here we are.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So I was completely broke. I get out there and I want to go to fashion school, right? So I'm like looking up sales tips online. I had worked at a call center prior. Wow. And then I get out there and it's like my friends are already selling. They've been selling for a month. They're doing like 2-day and kind of doing well. So I'm like, okay, I'll go out with them.
Okay.
And we're getting our face kicked in like completely, obviously.
And this was with Vivint.
Pitch out. I remember practicing. No, this is with a company called Vantage.
Oh, with pest control. Oh, okay, with pest control. Yeah.
Yeah, pest control. Okay. Yeah, and we were selling for Terminex at the time, actually.
Okay.
So I get out there and we just start messing. We're like, we suck at this. Like, let's just have fun. It's the last half of the day. So I start making jokes to like all the guys that were kind of savage and like didn't want to talk to us.
Okay.
And all of a sudden they're like biting way more than they were the whole day. And I'm like, holy cow. I was like, all we have to do is joke around with them and like have fun and they buy from us. It's that easy. So we end up selling six that day. And my friend was
Holy,
like, you're my saving grace. Obviously, she was like super stoked about it.
yeah, doing six
And
freaking accounts.
I'm like, wow. Yeah, in the first day. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, this is going amazing. So, long story short, I make a goal. I'm like, okay, I sell three a day. Every single day, at least I can go to fashion school. So I sold three a day. C was my genius. Like, honestly, I can't stress that enough. Like, consistency was my whole foundation. Like, everything I did was about consistency and routine
Wow.
and um, how I was the day before. So yeah, I mean, I was ambitious, you guys. I wanted to take on the world. I was 22. I had a chip on my shoulder, and I really, really just wanted to make sure that everyone knew my name, or at
I
least, I
love
had a
it.
big enough name to go to fashion school.
Yeah.
So I was selling three every day. I started to kind of make a mark for myself. People were paying attention a lot more, and I was like, huh, this is actually really cool. I get to better myself through random strangers every day and make money doing it.
Yeah.
How much better does it get, right? So I'm
Seriously.
like, I was like, I got so addicted to it, you guys, that I literally was like, what else can I change about myself? I can be any human I want to be in front of these people and they don't know the difference. So I'm like, okay, I don't like that people gossip back home. I'm going to start working on not gossiping. And
Wow.
I started kind of like doing the opposite of whatever I didn't like. And it created this, I just programmed my brain for success. So that's like the best way I can put it. I literally like, I decided consciously, I was like, I'm going to program my brain for success so that naturally my brain just sells three. Naturally, I wake up and want to conquer the world. Naturally, I know how to overcome obstacles because no matter what I do, I'm thinking about a positive outcome, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it got so good and it just really peaked so much that I started selling five a day every day. And then everyone's like, what in the world is going on with this girl? She just got here in June and she's outselling everyone. And
Yeah.
not to mention, I was like totally stuttering the first time I said the pitch. So I was like, they're just like, what in the hell? And so I'm not even joking. I made an arch nemesis that summer. The guy who taught me the pitch, I'll never forget, and I might regret saying this, but I'll never forget. He came up to me after I was selling five and he's like, what are you doing? He couldn't believe it because
That you
I
were
was
selling
stuttering.
five
Yeah,
every
because I was
time.
stuttering. And he was the one that was like assigned to role play with me. And he was probably like, oh my hell, I'm not doing this. But then all of a sudden I'm out selling him. He's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm just going to the neighborhood you knock in and knocking behind you. And
What?
I swear to you that I regretted that comment the second it came out of my mouth
Oh
because
my gosh,
all of a
Amy.
sudden this guy's my new rival and trying to outsell me every day. I'm like, oh my gosh, my mouth is way too big. Why did I make that savage comment? But it was true, you guys. I was getting assigned the worst areas, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this work. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
do whatever I gotta do. I actually was getting Ubers at one point because I was getting hit on by the car group guy. So I started getting Ubers because I was like, this no one's gonna affect anything. Like
Your space, your goal.
I
Like
just
what? Like
knew,
what was behind that? Like Amy, like I've never heard this before, and I love it. Like the simple fact, at
yeah.
22 years old, coming from a very competitive family, you get the notion
Mm-hmm.
into your mind that like no one is gonna be affecting me. But like,
Yeah,
how many people in door to
girl.
door are talking about their shitty areas or showing up to their managers?
Uh-huh.
And you are showing up behind the person who recruited you and
Yeah.
outselling him in his areas. Like what, like how did
Yeah.
you obtain that mindset? Like what are the steps? Like
I mean,
what came behind that?
I'll be raw with you. Like, I came from a very complex environment. Like, it had abuse. It had a lot of success. I mean, I watched my dad sell a company and, make millions when I was
Wow.
in elementary school. And I also watched him completely broke
Wow.
a lot of my childhood. So it was like night and day quite a bit of the time. And I grew up in a very tough environment. And,
Wow.
it was like my family was very religious, and God was my secret. He really was. I mean,
Wow.
he, I was so close to God. My dad was a bishop for 6 years, and I'm not super religious anymore, but I've always been super about God and super about just the higher power. And it's been my secret sauce the entire way through. Like, I've just
Wow.
always known that there's a bigger purpose for me. And when you go through a lot in your life, you get to a point where it's like, you know what? What does happiness look like? What can I do to chase that? Like, I know what all these horrible things can look like. What does happiness look like? And that's what
Wow.
my foundation was built on. I was just like, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. I
I like
mean, my
absolutely love
friend,
that.
my friend was offering to pay my rent. That was $200. Like, it doesn't get more self-made. Like,
No.
you
Like,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, no, we have like
So,
so much in common. Like, just coming from a
yeah,
space where you've seen it, all type of things. And so like that year, how did you end at 22 years old,
yeah.
starting the
That
summer in
year,
June, being, coming in after everyone, like you
yep,
basically only had like 2.5 months of the summer, maybe almost three.
yeah.
How'd that end?
So I sold 550 accounts.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I
Starting in
ended up,
freaking June, Amy.
yeah, it was crazy. And honestly, I was beating the whole team by the end of the summer. I was selling 10 a day consistently
Holy cow.
by the end. Yeah, it
At
was,
22
I'm
years
telling
old.
you, like, girl, I'm telling you, like, if there's any living proof that you can program your brain to do anything, it's me. Like, if you have no idea what the background has looked like in my personal life coming up, and if you did, you would be like, wow, that's beautiful. It wouldn't be like, I've never wanted to be a victim. And everyone goes through so much. Like, our generation is struggling in so many ways.
Wow. Yeah.
And so many people have a victim mentality. But if you can just wrap your head around the fact that there are so many opportunities, there are so many stepping stones to get to where you want to go. And the only real roadblock is your own personal insecurities and self sabotage, then the sky really is the limit. Like, it truly is. And that's what I want people to know.
Amy, I cannot wait till we're hanging out in person and getting you in some of these masterminds. Like, this is the type of
I would love
things and
that.
stories that we should be having in this space. Like, I remember starting door to door in 2008, like listening to your story and just like that need that people feel like, us women kind of need to compete against each other and all these things. But like getting to a point where you realize, like, okay,
Right.
looking at yourself individually, like how many other people can you bring with you? Like how many other people can you
Right.
share this with? And kind of what I want to get into,
Uh-huh.
and why I was like so intrigued with your story. You were the first woman that I know of, or that Sam Taggart knows of, that has done 1,000 pest control accounts. And so I kind of want to go to that year as we're in the week of Door to Door Con,
Yeah.
and so many women and so many people are prepping for
Yeah.
the summer. They're kind of like having big, humongous goals. I kind of want to hear like what
Mm.
it took for you that year that was like your biggest year. Like, how, and I think that you were even managing a team during
Yeah.
that year that
Yeah.
you hit 1,000. Give us a little
Oh, I
backstory
was
on
so
that.
savage. I
Yeah,
was so
like
savage. You have
yes,
no
that's the
idea.
story that people that I want to know and want to hear, because a lot of people, at least like
Oh,
here
it's
on this side,
crazy.
didn't get to hear that. So, tell us like what
Okay,
it was that
let
you
me
needed
just
to
give
do.
you let me just give you some crazy like teasers here.
Okay.
I'm going to jail for soliciting. I'm getting bit by a dog. Like, I'm leaving a state because of a hurricane. Like, everything that you can imagine that somebody would probably freak out about, definitely happening.
Yeah.
And insane. It was insanity. But here's the thing: the summer before is what really got me because I told you, I, I went from the first year. I'm selling 550. I'm beating everyone in the whole company by the end, but nobody's really giving me credit. Cause I'm at 550. They're at 1,000. They're like, "Sorry, girl. Even though you sold June, I'm discrediting you." So I'm like, all right, I've
What?
got to chip my share. I'm coming back in. We're coming in hot. Let's make a mark.
Okay.
So I'm determined the next year to sell this my second year. I'm like, I'm going for 1,000. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes. But I didn't realize the endurance. That's what really tripped me up. So I'm selling and I'm doing 10 every single day. But towards the end is really what tripped me up because
Yeah.
I didn't understand how you had to
It's
sometimes
a
you get slowed
marathon, not a
down by
sprint.
like,
Yeah.
totally. And if you're going to jail for soliciting, that might trip you up. So
Yes.
you got to make up for it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I got to sell 15, 20 in a day, whatever it takes, which I was
Holy cow.
doing. But
Yeah.
there was a hurricane like right towards the end, and it was so bad that I was already at 750. I knew I wasn't going to hit 1,000. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it the next year.
Okay.
So I knew all the steps by then. I had all the secrets and I knew the endurance, like I knew the amount of endurance that really needed to take place to achieve that goal. So then the next year comes, I'm riled up. I end up going all out. I was selling like 15 a day. I sold 97 in a week at one point,
Holy cow.
330 in a month at one point. Like
Holy
I'm
cow.
telling you, like I saw the rainbow and the gold at the end and I was like, I was on a one-track mind. I really was. Like, not really a social life, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
super, super, super
You were just kind of like
dedicated.
focused. Like
And then,
what did your routine look like that year?
oh, it was obsessive. It was wake up, get on the doors, don't take a lunch break, knock the whole day. If you don't hit 10 that day, you knock in the nighttime.
Wow.
And it was listening to sales, podcasts, it was working out, running 4 miles a day. It was keep your mind busy, work hard, keep your, physical busy, keep your mind busy, keep your
Yeah.
spiritual busy, stay focused. That's exactly and then it was wake up, repeat, kill, wake up,
Rinse.
repeat,
She was
kill.
like, repeat, kill, repeat. You were like
Yeah.
every manager's like dream come true at
Oh,
this point.
100%. And that was the thing is nobody could control me. Nobody could put me on a team. It was actually like a problem if I was on a team because they got so backed up in accounts that and then I would be like the enemy of the whole team. So I came from like the inspiration to all of a sudden the enemy. So it got to the point that I was only on a team. People don't know this about me, but I was only on a team my first year. I
Re-
never was on a team after that again.
So like when you did your
So
like you were just doing your own thing the rest of the time in pest control.
yeah, I was in like a small town by
Wow.
myself, and the only person I even knew or saw every day was the technician. Like I
Wow.
lived alone, I worked alone, everything
Wow.
was alone. Like everyone actually would get nicknames like they would call me the ghost or the lone wolf or like just random things like that.
And it didn't
It
even
was so
phase you.
funny,
Like
but
you didn't care. Like your mindset
no,
was already set on creating happiness.
do you want to know why I didn't care? It's exactly what you just said. I was so set on my dreams that I was like, you know what? When you go through so much hell, I have to tell you, like, you realize that 1 year of hell or 1 year of being by yourself or even 4 months really
Yeah.
is nothing. Like, it's nothing compared to $500,000 that you get after. Like,
Literally.
and people can't, like, okay, I think that people can process that, but they can't believe in themselves enough to actually process that and intertwine it with their own confidence and get the job done. That's the only difference between someone like 1,000, someone like
Yeah.
me and someone like a 5 account level rep, really.
No,
Is
like
that I
listening.
believe in
Yeah.
myself and I
like
see it, and they don't.
That's the story that I'm trying to get out into, into the space with like women, like just hearing you talk about like how confident that you were in yourself mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
to go and do something by yourself, not letting people's feedback or negativity like get to you. Like, what do
Yeah.
you feel like attributed to that? Like, how does a woman, or how can one get the type of confidence or the type of belief that you have in
Yeah.
yourself to
That's
be able to go and like achieve that? Like, how are you mentoring or teaching people? Like, how do we help women find what you have?
a great question. No, it's so important because, okay, here's what's really happening, right? We've got an entire world that's totally ran by men, right?
Yeah.
So either way, when a girl gets in the industry she's gonna feel like she's not on the same page, or the odd one out, or whatever the case,
Yeah.
right? She's just gonna feel suppressed.
Yeah.
So what really, really clicked for me, I remember working at this call center. I was selling SEO, search engine optimization,
Okay.
and it was right before I went out. And I was selling to like the brokest, smallest business owners you can find. And I was trying to talk them into spending $2,000
Wow.
search engine optimization, which is an organic search that you
Okay.
don't even know if it's going to work or not. And
Okay.
so it was a hard sell, right? Like,
Yeah.
difficult. And there was even an NFL player that was sitting across from me. So I have like these older men that are in the room with me, and then I'm like 18. I don't even know how I landed the job. I think my brother referred me. But anyways, long story short, they're like completely picking on me because I have no sales background. I'm 18 years old. And I was getting so fed up. I'm like, I could see the fire. I knew what to do, but like I was so intimidated by them, and they were all around me and could hear my calls, that I couldn't like shake it. I was just like, I couldn't shake my nerves. Like,
Yeah.
I was so worried about what they were saying, and I knew the right thing to say, but I would like self-sabotage at that point. So I
Wow.
started listening to these YouTube videos like Will Smith, or a bunch of other ones, Martin Luther
Okay.
King, just like anyone I could find that just broke through that barrier and knew how to handle these animals, right?
Yeah.
So these podcasts that I'd listen to, or YouTube videos I would listen to throughout the day obsessively, I kid you not, I felt a fire in my like stomach that was
Wow.
just dying to get out. Like, I
Yeah.
could feel it. It was just like, let me out, let me out, let me breathe, let me like challenge me. I can do this, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, 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 you can't. Like, everything in your life says no. And I'm finally just at a point where I'm watching these videos so obsessively that I think it just overweighed all my insecurities. And it was just
Wow.
like, what do you have to lose? You're
Yeah.
obsessed.
Yeah.
You're obsessed with all this, and you're annoying. You're annoying yourself at this point. Like, just go for it.
Yeah.
So I went for it, and I started selling these leads that nobody wanted. And I just, I actually left the job early, and I went and did a bunch of other ones. But I think that taught me a really important lesson, which was, no matter who's in the room, no matter how you're being treated, no matter what the obstacles are, if you put the time into your success and actually like listen and take yourself seriously and actually serve with a purpose and have a why. And the why doesn't have, what I hate about people's whys when they ask is like, what's your 5-year plan? Who knows their 5-year plan? Come on. Like, are you
Sully
joking?
does.
All these corporates. Sully
Yeah.
does. But you know what? Sully also knows that that 5-year plan can go south real
Yes.
quick.
Real quick.
Exactly. So what is a 5-year plan when it doesn't
Yeah.
even ever work out? So I started like really being in the moment towards everything, and that really
Wow.
changed my game. Like, I just tried to be in the moment. Like, if I was driving, I was driving. If I was listening to music, I was listening to music. If I was talking to a stranger, I
I
was
was
getting
talking.
to know them like I would anyone. You
I
know, just
love
serve
that.
with a purpose.
That's okay. So
Yeah.
some of the key nuggets that I've taken from you so far, it was basically just deciding your happiness, like finding exactly what that was, and then getting into a space where you were just
Yeah.
absolutely just living in the moment. You were kind of just focusing on the simple fact that whatever you were doing, you were just there. And how many of us are just kind of like, okay, we're kind of paying attention to what everyone else in the room is doing, what everyone else in the office is doing. And you're telling me that one of your keys to success was just living in the moment. And
In the
I
moment.
absolutely love
Oh
that.
my
Yeah.
gosh, yes.
What I
It's
want to
huge.
do.
And you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I just started this call center a few weeks ago and we hired 30 people in a month. And it's been like a circus, like an actual circus. And it's been so interesting to listen to some of these reps because it really takes me back. It makes me realize that, we overcomplicate things to get in our way. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many small things that could just instantly go away if we could just control our mind and our emotions and take the time to get to know ourselves like we get to know a stranger or a random date you go on. When do you really take the time to take yourself on a date, get to know yourself, ask yourself these questions that are super important?
Yeah.
Like, and the reason why I bring up my reps is because I ask them these important questions, and it's very interesting to see how much they've really even dived into the topic. And you can tell because they don't really have a response, which is
Yeah.
totally fine. A lot of them are
Yeah.
young, but it's interesting because you're like, well, you really haven't spent time on this topic. And what's interesting about it is that topic might be the most important topic to someone else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you really have to expand your horizon and really, get
You.
outside the box. Like, we put ourselves in so many boxes. Yeah,
Yeah.
get to know you.
Yeah.
Look in the mirror, spend some time with yourself, learn new habits, like challenge your brain. Like, why do people have to get in their own way and say it's just the way I am?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean it's just the way I am? You came out of the womb with absolutely no behaviors and you were trained to behave a certain way. It's not just the way you are, it's how you were designed by nature,
By
by environment.
society, by you, by people around you. Like, this is exactly
Right.
me trying to explain and help women understand that, like, when I started seeing success in my personal life and financial life, it's when I began to learn who Suli was. Like, alone, like I began to
Totally.
fall in love, like with myself. But what I want to do, just for the sake of time,
Well, who
uh,
is Thule?
who,
I want to know that. Who is Thule?
yes,
If you
and
could really tell the world who you are, who would you say you are?
she is a vulnerable, loving, authentic, powerful human being. That's who I am. And
And and what is the key to you getting the job done?
it's
Like, what
knowing, ask,
makes you put it to work?
it was falling in love with me. It was knowing what I was deserved, like what I deserved for me and no one else. Like how you were talking about the victim mentality, and
Mm,
that was me, the environment that I grew up with. Like it's kind of similar to yours. Like I either could have sat around and woe is me, or I could have been the creator of my destination. And that's what I decided to do one day, is wake
totally.
up and be the creator of my destination. Like no one else was going to tell me how my
That's
success or
huge.
life was going to end. But what I want to do, Amy, just because the Zoom link that I'm on, I have to stop it and start it again because it's not my Zoom
Yeah.
link. But I want
Okay.
to, I want to hop back on because I want you to tell us what you're doing right now. So let me send you a Zoom link again. We were kind of getting into some really good stuff before we got cut off. So we're definitely going to take the time to kind of finish this call with Amy, or finish this episode with Amy, as I kind of want to get to some of the questions that some of you guys kind of want to know about Golden Door and different things like that. But before I get into that, Amy did want to make sure that we finish with a question of hers. So we'll do that, and then we'll move
Mm-hmm.
on to mine, but we'll keep it short just because I know a lot of the things that you're wanting to know and ask. Like literally, if people listen to my show, they will know all those things. Probably have like 50 some odd episodes of Suli. So, but let's go. Let's go with your question that we kind of cut off before we interviewed someone
Yeah.
else.
Well, let me just start. We can't get enough of you, so definitely keep sharing. The question I did have for you though was after you got to the point where you broke through some of those barriers, how did you feel about yourself?
Oh, like I mean, that was why I went through some of the things that I did, and actually finding and hiring people who are experts in their field, such as finding a therapist, someone who specializes in overcoming trauma via external situations, or even childhood trauma and different things like that. And so for me to be able to kind of look inwardly and find more love and compassion for myself, that was definitely um, one of my favorite breakthroughs. But what about you? What did it feel like for you to be able
No, that's
to,
huge.
yeah,
That's
to find that?
beautiful. I love that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, that's a good question. For me, I think it hit a little bit differently. I mean, when you come from the bottom and you come up quick,
Yeah.
it you just got to roll with the punches and keep moving. But I had two different feelings. I had one where I was like overwhelmed. There was a new target that, if you will. I mean, my name was in the industry at that point, and I couldn't stop it whether I wanted to or not. So
Like,
it
why
was
did you
just
feel like
like
you had
roll with the
a target
punches
on
and
your
whatever
back?
happens, happens. Well, it's a male dominant industry, and
Yes.
I was the face of the industry at a point. So it was like, Amy Spencer, who is she? What can she do for me? And it was almost like I was getting all these DMs, text messages, calls from random people trying to
Wow.
recruit me, or they
Yeah.
had an agenda towards me. So trying to filter that out and really like understand what their motive was,
Yeah.
I think, what was overwhelming for me. But
I
once you
feel
kind
that.
of adjust, yeah, you got to adjust. That's the
Yeah.
key. Every every new chapter of your life is going to require a different version of yourself, and you have to step up and really, perform and outperform the old version of yourself. So I took that seriously, and I was up to the plate, and I was like, if I'm gonna bat, I'm gonna take it home. So
And you took it
we
all the way
definitely
home.
showed up. Yeah, we
Yeah.
showed up.
So like what year was it where you started at 22, did
Hmm.
500 your first year starting in June. What year was it that you had serviced 1,000 pest control accounts? Like what year?
What year did my name take off
No,
before I
yeah,
even had
like
control?
no, Amy, I'm talking about. So how many
um,
years were you in the door-to-door space and you hit 1,000 account? What
yeah,
year was that?
it was 20. I was 24 at that point. So
Two
23,
years.
I hit six figures, and 24, it was the 1,000 account year. Yeah, it was my
Holy
third
cow.
year in.
At 24 years old, so you
Yeah,
started at 22, 2 years later, you're still in the space and you do your first six figures. And then year three is basically when you do 1,000 pest control accounts.
yeah,
Holy
yeah. So
freaking
I
cow.
came back. Yeah, so I came back, and I'm like, don't even know what to do with myself. I'm super excited. Obviously, I hit my goal that I was trying to achieve literally every day adamantly. And come back to Utah, and everyone knows my name to the point I'm walking through a mall, and
Wow.
someone comes up to me and they're like, "Are you Amy?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what have I done?" I didn't even know this was going to happen. So that's what I meant with the target on my back. I mean, it was a good
Got it.
target and a bad one, but either
Yeah.
way, it was an adjustment, and I was just like overwhelmed.
No, I
So there's a
definitely,
lot of good,
yep.
you can
There's a lot of
relate.
good what?
There's a lot of good things that come with that, but there's some horrible things that come with that too. For example, as long as you're doing good, everyone's all about it. But the second you mess up, it's like, hey, did you
Y-
hear about Amy Spencer? And so
yes.
you just got to get thick skin, very thick
Yeah.
skin.
How do you
But
how
it's
do
a
you feel like
beautiful
you
thing. It's like,
How do you feel like you've dealt with that, Amy? Because I 1000% agree. Like, I feel like as us as women, as long as we're doing great and we're breaking down those barriers, like, okay, our face is out there, people are talking about us, but like the second we make a mistake, it's so easy to just kind of like erase everything good that we kind of like
Mm.
did or accomplished. Like, what were some things that you had been able to do, aside from childhood? Obviously, like you had to have thick skin, but what would be some tips or
Yeah.
some tools that you would suggest for other women to be able to get some thick skin, or to be able to, kind of be
Yeah.
confident with themselves and not worry too much about what people have to say?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. I was going to tie in the childhood because obviously it prepared me, but at the
Yeah.
same time, so did the doors. I mean, when you get rejected over and over again, you're just prepared for that anyway. So
Yeah.
I think I always told people, no matter what the money was that I got from the door to door experience, I would do it all over again without the money, because at the end of the day, what I learned is just you can't put a price on it. I mean, I learned so many things about myself and about what I can handle. So by the time I got my name, it was like, what's next? I can handle this. I know what to do. I mean, I know, life prepared me for this. So I think that was
Wow.
one step. But another key that I'm really, really good at is spicing up my life.
How do you
What
spice
is
up your
that?
life?
I think Destiny's Child sang that song, Spice Up Your Life. But
Yeah.
anytime I'm down, I'm like, okay, let's be human for a minute. You don't have to make everything about work. What's fun to you? And then,
Yeah.
for me, I love to travel. So if it's a spontaneous trip to Europe or, an EDM show or whatever the case,
Yeah.
like I'm all on board, anything to get my spirits up. And I think people definitely underestimate the power of just lifting your own spirits and, acting like you're human in the right moments. I mean, everyone has the things in their life that hold them back, and everyone has the moments where they don't want to get up out of bed.
Yeah.
That's totally normal. That's just your body telling you that it needs to rest or it needs to switch it up. And I'm really good at paying attention to my feelings. You know what I mean?
Well, do you feel like that was something that you've had to like practice, like listening and paying attention to your intuition? Because I feel like sometimes for us as women, we kind of get like bogged down with, okay, people are telling us, no, you have to do this to be able to find
Hmm.
success. How did you get good at listening to your body and to your intuition?
So I told you, I retrained my brain. I got super good at routines. I isolated, but the other part I didn't tell you, the double-edged sword with that is it was almost starting to get in the way of my performance, because we're not robots, right?
No,
We really
yeah,
aren't. And if you play with that line, you get like, you can almost get depressed because you're like, I know this isn't me, and I've almost trained myself to make myself believe it's me. So you have to take a step back and do some spiritual healing, if you will, where you're like, okay, what works for me? What
yeah.
doesn't? Really dig deep. And sometimes it will trigger some feelings that are unresolved, but that's important. That's what life's about, right?
Yeah. So do you feel like you like got into the process of like just doing deep work on yourself, like internally, like mentally,
Oh, I
spiritually,
think I'm the
emotionally is what
queen
it
of
sounds.
that. Yeah,
Like,
I'm
did
the
you go
queen
to
of
like
it.
any courses, or you just kind of like everything that you're doing is just
Um,
like self-taught, like you just isolate, you kind of just do it on your own, you kind of teach yourself at home, or like
I
watch
tried a
YouTube?
couple different, yeah, that's a good question. I tried a couple different methods. I think whatever works for, everyone has different ways of coping, and whatever works for you works. But for me, what really helped was just digging deep with my higher power, recognizing that some things are out of my control and some things are in my control. And whatever's in my control, I can definitely start with that. Um, Stepping stones is a huge key. You know, not
Yeah.
you can't build Rome in one day, right?
No.
You can't eat an elephant in one day. It's little by little, and then eventually, you end up eating the elephant, right? So
Yeah.
just take it little by little. If handling something hour by hour is too much, take it minute by
Minute by
minute,
minute.
day by day, right? So
Yeah.
whatever works for your emotions, definitely pay attention, but don't be a victim, and understand, have the perspective that, the world is your oyster. Whatever you want out of it, you can get, as long as you put your mind to it and have a plan, right?
Yeah. I love it. It just sounds like because of the way that you grew up and a lot of the mental toughness that you grew up with and essentially had to have like while being on the doors, you kind of were able to just utilize that and become the human being that you are. And just, it sounds like a
Yeah,
lot, it's just similar and parallel to a lot of other people who's found success in this space. We just are one of the few people that are going to have the victim mentality. And I just hear it
totally.
over and over again. And so it just sounds like that year that you just did amazing. It's just a lot of, hey, you knew what you had to do and you just kind of like went out and did it type of thing. Not really
Yeah,
any kind of like steps or anything like that. You're just like, you knew your routine, you knew how many doors that you had to knock, you knew that you were going to be doing double digits every day. And it was just like in
yeah.
your mind, it was already happening. So it sounds like you
Well,
just had a lot of self confidence.
yeah, and that's where I appreciate that. The stuff really behind this. I mean, I was working on my brain chemistry. I was cutting out people that were too toxic and I couldn't handle. I was paying attention to what I put into my mind, whether it was music or my podcast or how I talk to myself. You know, if I need to tell myself I'm a badass 100 times a day until I believe it, that's, you know, my
Yeah.
responsibility. And I understood that.
I didn't know that you had a podcast. Go ahead and tell our listeners, like, what's
No,
the
no,
name of
no.
your show? Oh,
I
just
mean,
listening to them.
whatever podcast. I was, intrigued by that day.
Got
My
it.
apologies. My apologies there.
No, I just absolutely like love it and can't wait till we actually have like conversations in person. And so, okay, so for those women who are wanting to
Oh,
like
same.
lead
I'm so
and
excited.
and have super big goals for 2023, like what is it that you want to accomplish this year? Like what are you doing this year? Like what do you like yeah, like kind of what are your goals? So are you still in pest control or
Oh, yeah.
okay. So
Great
so what are your
question.
goals and what are you doing?
Yeah, that's my favorite. I'm so excited right now and so passionate. I just got off the phone with like two of my reps and we were role playing. So I
Oh,
am super on right now. I am building an empire call center. We have business partners throughout the US. I own a company. It's called Iron Gate Partners, and
so
we
awesome.
are growing very rapidly. So
So
I'm
you
super
so you run a
excited for the
company of
future. Things
like
are definitely looking up.
so you run a company of a
Yeah,
lot of sales reps who are running like a call center for pest control.
totally. So basically, I have the partner of all partners, the elite of all elites. Like my business partners, they're 100-year-old company and
Wow.
they're phenomenal. Like best company you could ever work with, super trustworthy. And they've given us like over 20,000 leads of current customers. So we just call through
Holy
those
cow.
customers. They make like $100 a sell. They're selling like five a day and they're just eating it up. I mean,
Oh my
they're
gosh, Amy.
I'd say
That's
the only
awesome.
downfall that, yeah, it's awesome. The only downfall we really run into is just getting people to answer the phone.
Yeah.
The close ratio is super, super high. So everything's going really good there. Door to door couldn't be better. We're getting ready to start in March. And
Nah.
we have a couple partners throughout the US, but that 100-year-old company I work with has about 10 different offices that we just utilize. And we just hired 30 people about 3 weeks ago. So
Wow. And then
things
like
are
so what's
moving.
your personal like what like as a business owner kind of like what would you love to accomplish in 2023?
Oh, I just want to take what I have been given and pass it down. I mean, that would just, I would be honored to share everything I've learned in this industry. I mean, I've been blessed in so many ways, and I'm just so ready to bless the lives of the people that put their trust into me. They're so hungry and they're so motivated, and it's nothing makes me happier than watching them take what I've learned
And finding
and
success
execute
with
it
the
with
yeah.
ambition and dreams and success. It's so liberating and I love it. I cannot get enough.
I absolutely like I just got the chills like hearing you say that. Like a lot of there are definitely leaders out there who are just kind of like, they just want us to go out there, kind of just do our thing and they don't really add a ton of
Mm,
value. And then you have those leaders like yourself and what you're talking about. We truly just want the people who are around us to be able to find that success, to be able to reach their goals. We know that the more human beings
100%.
that we can help on this planet, like, yeah, we're going to be elevating ourselves at the same time too. And there's just not enough of a giver mentality in this space. And so I love that that's kind of like your concept and your
No.
goal.
Oh, it's who I am. It's what I live for. I mean, I can't, all of my cells I've built off of that foundation. All of the recruits I've built off of that foundation. My company's built on that foundation. And it's just show up with a solution, show up
Yeah,
with a
I love that.
why, show up with a purpose, have real intentions when you're talking to someone, and don't look at them as a stranger or, just an object. People are human,
Yeah.
and it's
No,
really,
I love
really
that.
important to get to know them
Amy,
and
how old
offer
are
them
you
something,
now? How old are you,
I'm
Amy?
29, pushing 30.
Oh
I'm getting
my
old.
gosh,
We are
started at
almost there,
22 years
girlfriend.
old, like 4 years later, Golden Door, before 29 years old, like
Oh
starts a
yeah.
company. Like, what are you freaking gonna, what aren't you gonna accomplish by your 30th birthday? Like, that's gonna be
I'm
so,
trying. I'm trying. That's my goal.
that's awesome. So I want you to just, if there are just like some valuable tips, like what are three pieces of advice for any woman who is looking to get into the space, or
Mm,
any woman who wants to run a team or wants to lead or start a business? What would be some tips or some golden nuggets that you would share with someone who's getting into the space, and
yeah,
some actual tangible tips or nuggets that they could be able to do?
yeah. One, don't underestimate yourself. Two, the sky is the limit. And three, the world is yours if you believe it. To
I love
go in, big, don't underestimate yourself. Meaning, everyone has their roadblocks, if you will. Whoever you're talking to also has anxiety and insecurities, just like
Yeah,
you do.
yeah,
So don't get in your own head to the point that you self-sabotage. What I see way too often with women is they almost how you're in a group and everyone's hyping each other up. They're
yeah.
almost in a group whining to each other to the point that they all whine enough that they self-sabotage each other, or self-sabotage the group, or the whole group sabotage. But either way, like, pay attention to what you're saying to your friends, pay attention to what you're saying to yourself, but don't get involved in groups that just want to whine.
I
And
love
if
that.
you do, eventually you'll be that person, and you'll end up self-sabotaging before you even see what you're capable of, right?
Yeah. No, I love that so much. People just do not understand the power or the influence of the circle or of the people that you're around every day. If you are going to be around someone who's going to have that victim mentality or be a negative Nancy, whether it be your parents or your siblings or your close friends, that's definitely boundaries or an environment that you're going to be having to figure out. And so I love that you said that. And for any women or anyone in this space who would, love to sit down with you or get like any more feedback or whatnot, like, where can people reach you? And if you can just share your Instagram handle, anyone in the pest control space, if you're looking to be taught or coached by the best, like, you definitely want to reach out to Amy. And where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Sky's the limit, you guys. Let's conquer this world. Honestly, I love you. You are great. Thank you for everything. My Instagram is Amy Spencer with two R's, or you can reach me at my website, and it's in the bio too.
Yes, I am super stoked. Again, for you women out there who are looking to get into the door-to-door space, or those of you who are in pest control, Amy at freaking only 22 years old, coming in with just that kind of mindset that this was something that she was going to do. If you're looking to find success, come in with that type of attitude, and come in with the attitude of being able to solve problems. The more problems that we can solve in the space, the more value we become. So I'm super grateful for more of you women to be able to come and join the space. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. If I've added any kind of value to your thoughts on knocking doors, please share this podcast with another female rep. Until next time, know that you are capable, you are valued, and most importantly, you are enough.